crisis, kind of the PRC word, right? It's one of those things that nobody wants to think about, but ultimately it's something that's really going to burn you if you're not thinking about it. And as a business owner, I can totally understand, something that you lie awake at night thinking about could possibly impact everything that you've worked so hard to build. That's where we come in. We are that safety blanket that thinks about these things for you. When you're talking about the trust bucket, you're looking at, it's a fictitious bucket of trust that you're filling. You're slowly filling this pitcher full of water so that when something happens, somebody walks by and bumps this pitcher of water, maybe a little bit of water spills out, but the whole thing doesn't get upended. And that's the whole idea of the trust bucket. When you're looking at public relations kind of in a full circle, you're looking at identifying what are the best elements that we can use to reach the people that matter most to us, your stakeholders. So people who are buying from you, people who are your employees, and people who you want to be your customers in some way, shape, or form. As opposed to if your trust bucket is empty and that pitcher of water gets upended because there's not much going on in there, the first people are hearing of you is when that crisis happens. And it makes it so incredibly difficult to turn that into an opportunity if people don't already know who you are and what you stand for, and being a pillar of the community versus somebody who's just now being thrust into the spotlight. Social media, it's a really low-hanging fruit that every business should be using to connect with people. It can be a very powerful tool for you before a crisis. It establishes your digital footprint, allows people to know who you are and what you stand for. But during a crisis, it's also a very powerful tool because it's something that people who care about your business and the media are going to turn to. Really, all your stakeholders are going to turn to look for that latest information. What are 5 or 6, 7 different elements that you do really, really well that could be turned into really good, high quality social media content? And we'll help design that content too, by the way. But even if you don't know what that content is, ChatGPT can be a really good brainstorming partner, and AI, I think, is especially when it comes to social media, can be a really good strategic partner in coming up with content that's really going to resonate with people who are following you. If you're seeing that you're spotlighting an employee who's done something really good in the community, if you're talking about your leadership, and leadership is talking about, for example, how they prioritize work-life balance within the company that they work for. Those are just like 2 examples of things that are pretty low-hanging fruit that draw a fine line between marketing and PR, where you can really work to elevate your brand as not just being more noise being added to the digital universe, but people can rely and relate to some of the things that you're posting. What we use is a social media monitoring software called Meltwater. And what Meltwater is imagine a big antenna that's on top of a mountain, and that antenna is just kind of spinning, satellite dish on the antenna spinning, 360 degrees. And that's kind of what Meltwater does in the digital space. And those keywords that we look at are totally dependent on, the biggest concerns that we identify as an agency in forecasting what crises could be on the horizon, and also things that the client's thinking about too, that maybe too inside baseball as an agency. We have to be experts in kind of every vertical that we're in. It's trying to be 2 steps ahead. You're playing 4D chess, on a 3D chessboard. And I think that's the appropriate way to look at crisis, because for any agency who is keeping an eye out, on the well-being of their clients, you have to have at the forefront of your mind at all times things that could sink them, and protecting their brand and everything that they've worked so hard to accomplish are things that are near and dear to us, and help us sleep at night too.